Two top four teams put everything on the line, hoping to secure a top two finish. Delivers across to the other side and it's headed in! Beth Priestman and her Wellington Phoenix celebrate. They've done something historic.
Tonight is simply a must-win game. It's all 3 points or bust. Benchevsky again, this time a little higher, a little longer, but in the back of the net. But into the 6 for now.
3 roads lie in front of the Central Coast Mariners today. Win, and they will have a chance to defend their championship title in the finals. Lose, and they are eliminated. Draw, and they will have a very anxious wait to see if Canberra United can do them an almighty favour. It's just opened up here for Eliza Hamilton off the post. Into a pack of bunnies, the free header, Grove off the crossbar. It ends scoreless in Gosford. The Mariners season stays alive.
Now Stevenson looking to bring it over the top, and this is an opportunity here. Great goal from the captain, Michelle Heyman. This time similar position, and it's straight through to the back of the net. Brisbane Roar booked themselves not only into finals, but a home elimination final.
Well, after 109 games, the Ninja A-League regular season comes to a close with a premiership party for Melbourne City in Maitland. It's a chance for Turner! This match ends as the season has, Melbourne City on top.
The Ninja A-League regular season for the 2025-26 season is in the books. Records broken all over the place. And we've got a little wait before the final series starts. So to break down all the action this season, we welcome back A-League's commentator Teo Pellizzeri and two-time Ninja A-League champion Teresa Polias. Great to have you both with us for the show.
It's great to be back.
It's been a remarkable season so far. T, let's start with you and your moment of the season.
Yeah, a tough one, but going back to round 9, I was on call with Taryn Hedo. It was victory versus the Mariners up on the Central Coast, and amazing stuff. 3-0 down, Melbourne victory, cue Rihanna Policina, 90+1, and you're thinking, oh, consolation goal, right? And then Sakalis hits back with another, 90+3. And then it was game on. It was amazing. They kept going at them, and it was O'Grady that finished it off with a, 3-goal comeback for victory. So that was just such an exciting game, and I can't forget it.
Teo.
Mine is pretty simple. It was when Samba came to Wonderland.
Oh, of course.
And I think of all the highs this season, we got an insight into what the future of this league could and quite simply needs to be, which is full stands, communities engaged, marquee players, and it doesn't matter whether you're home or away, the draw card and the connective power of women's football, and also the cultural identities that people build through football. It truly was a special moment.
Absolutely.
My moment of the season, by a long way.
Yeah, a wonderful moment. Something we're missing that day, though, Teo.
Yeah, my flag, yes. But, we know the person who Samba donated it to never reached out. So clearly trying to have it appreciate and value. Maybe they can flog it for more than the $20 I bought it for.
Well, what flags we'll have next season, we'll have to wait and see. My moment of the season comes from my old team, actually, at Canberra United. And I was going to pick Peter Trimis's goal from outside the box, but I thought, what a way to showcase what happens in the W League when a team truly gels together. It was this moment with the ball being played through and around a Melbourne victory from Canberra United, and Sasha Grove just chipping it in over the top for Canberra there, and the win, of course, as well. So a great team goal from Canberra United then. And speaking of Canberra United, let's dive straight into the action. We're going to go to Canberra, where Brisbane secured a home elimination final. They enter the finals as the informed team in the competition team.
Yeah, it's really great to see Brisbane back in finals since 2021. They travelled to McKellar Park, of all places. Very, hard to get the victory there. This is a traditional rivalry as well between the two teams. So, Brisbane doing what they needed to do to get the job done in time for finals form. So, very interesting.
They had a wild swing in the final third of the season, Brisbane. When they were 2-0 up against Melbourne City, they were top of the league. When they kicked off with 3 games to go against Newcastle, it was 8th versus 9th. They went from 1st to 8th. And they were on a 4-game losing streak, only for Alex Smith and his team to dig themselves out. And I think we saw the coach of the year, by far, emerge at the weekend in Alex Smith. We will get to the other games. We will talk about the apprehension and the cowardice, I would say, of teams to not try to change their circumstances. Alex Smith has made finals with a negative goal difference, with the leakiest defence in the league, but he still backed his players and found ways to win. Didn't matter who got injured. Benti Janssen off after 11 minutes. Tamiki Yallop out for 2 months. Players away with the young Matildas. He has ridden every bump and the club has come with him, and it is a real validation of the project that he has run there at the Brisbane Roar.
Starting big there, Teo. Big call already. Alex Smith, the coach of the year.
Well, I've already put in my votes. He got the 3 from me.
Look, they've done well. The difference to last year, they got themselves out of they dug themselves out again. So they didn't quite recover from that dip in form last year, and maybe that's what's kind of, given them that experience that they needed to be able to do it this season. But yeah, I think we need a team like Brisbane in finals, and they've done it. So
a cynic would say that you're a one-team town in the state that produces 30% of Matildas in the last 10 years. Maybe you should make finals a bit more often than once every 5 years. But Brisbane Roar, they say the Mariners were the little club that could. Maybe it's Brisbane who are actually punching against the odds. Ask their fans. The refs are against us. The media's against us. The world's out to get us, and they've proven everyone wrong.
There was a few tense moments in this match, and an up and down season for Chloe Lincoln as well, but a huge penalty save in this one, securing that home final. How important is not just the home final, but a confident Chloe Lincoln heading into the finals?
Oh, I mean, probably the most important thing for Brisbane. Her Asian Cup heroics and experience she gained from that, you can see it's boosted her. So them going in with I guess everyone at their peak mentalities is extremely important.
I mean, statistically, Chloe Lincoln's been responsible for 6 errors leading to goals this season, which is almost as many as the rest of the league's individual players combined. So as soon as her performance improved, this team was going to fly up the ladder. And sure enough, they're on a 3-game winning streak. They're the form team heading into the finals.
Ooh, form team.
That's
another big call. Point
to a different team that's won 3 in a row.
Look, I don't know. I wouldn't go so far as to say Brisbane are the informed team. They've played 2 teams out of the 6 in the last 3 rounds.
Yes, because they beat them to get there.
Before that, they lost 2 on the trot. So I wouldn't say they are the informed team, but I'm happy to see them there, and I do think they will put up a good fight.
Let's not forget, despite Brisbane taking the chocolates on the weekend, Canberra were locked into 3rd spot regardless. Let's now hear from their captain, Michelle Heyman, who spoke to us post-match.
Yeah, for us, today didn't really matter. It was just more about staying healthy, keeping calm and collected, because we knew we had our 3rd spot, and we were just, trying to make sure that everything was going our way. But yeah, the results today doesn't matter, and happy days.
Michelle Heyman there, not too fussed about that one. Not much to play for in that one, she said, Teo. But they will host finals specialist Melbourne Victory in the elimination final.
Yes, but Canberra did beat Victory home and away this season, and they broke a very long winless streak against Melbourne Victory to cast off any sort of issues they had playing against them. We speak about the McKellar crowd. A little disappointed to hear, saying it doesn't matter. It's your last game for a couple of weeks. Not as easy maybe for Canberra to arrange friendlies against other teams or even against boys' teams in this gap now that they've got in order to prepare for a final against Melbourne Victory. So I would have thought that Canberra will certainly back themselves, given the head-to-head record against the Victory, home ground advantage, and that, if it is legitimate that they weren't going 100%, you still want to score that penalty at the end. You don't want to let a team into the finals that's beaten you now, home and away, in the Brisbane Roar, and I know that Canberra can't play them again until later in, potentially a grand final, but you can imagine what sort of a grand final it would be if it was McKellar and it was Canberra-Brisbane,
I wouldn't read too much into Michelle's comments of, it doesn't matter. Obviously, it does matter to her. I think it's more about, it's the last round. We're not going to let that dent our confidence heading into to finals. They've got the mental edge over Melbourne Victory. They're playing well. So I would say Canberra are the real dark horse for finals.
Let me get you to hold that thought, T, because Teo had a few words to say about Victory last week. Let's have a look at what you said on last week's Dub Zone.
Victory have been begging for us to write them off and say they can't do it, they're not going to make it anymore. Well, Victory, you're going to get what you want. You're not going to get the win in Perth. I'm writing you off. You're going to miss the finals.
Oh, big call.
Teo, you can be wrong once.
You know what? You know the adage that the easiest way to become a millionaire is to start out as a billionaire? Well, the easiest way to scrape into sixth is to start out with a team that shouldn't have won the premiership. So, well done, Victory. You made the sixth. Congratulations.
But what, like, this is a team that have so much finals experience. Like, I can recall Sydney teams in the past, us scraping in, and then the pressure was off because we got that pass mark.
Big game players.
Yeah, and then you step up. So watch out for Victory. I'm not convinced with them at all in their regular season, the chemistry on field. I don't know what's the go there.
Just haven't quite got it right.
No, they haven't. With probably the best team on paper in the competition squad, I should say, just hasn't come together. But now that they've made finals, danger. Danger.
But is it satisfactory for Melbourne Victory to go on a finals run? I mean, they've made the last two grand finals in the men's, and no one in their men's fan base is happy with finishing in the bottom half of the top six and then stringing it together for a couple of weeks. They want to be pushing for the spots in Asia, and we only have one spot in Asia in the women's, and they were nowhere near it this season.
Well, it's definitely something to look at because, as I said, best squad on paper. And if you look at the performances on the field, nowhere near they need to be. And I think they know that. So there has to be some sort of look into what's truly going on there.
Would you give them a pass if they still won the grand final?
You just say that they won't win, Teo, and they probably will.
I would if they win the grand final. Yeah, they're champions. The rest is forgotten. Why wouldn't that be a pass mark?
Well, we'll have to wait and see. Let's stick with Victory, though, because it was Claudia Bunge with the all-important goal against Perth. They had a very anxious wait as their results fell in their favour to lock in that sixth spot. And I think we're primed a little bit for that Victory ambush final, as you've mentioned, in the final series, T. But it's Perth. Perth were left with mission impossible, really, weren't they, this weekend to make the finals?
Look, they were, and it's always hard coming up against teams with sort of nothing to lose. Obviously is at home as well, and we know how good Victory are off set pieces and corners. So, Bunge has stepped up a number of times this season. They've sort of relied on that aspect, I think, of their game a little too much, but they got the job done, and Perth miss out yet again.
All levity aside, it was effectively a knockout game for Victory, and they went back to what served them so well last season when they did, again, find a way to go from second to the grand final. This year they've got to go from sixth, but if it's via scoring from headers and set pieces, they've got two of the best exponents. Kayla Morrison is on the longest run of her career without scoring, and you don't expect a centre-back to score, but it's gone away from Victory's game. And so Bunge popping up with a header at a set piece there is just the genius of something that they can re-find at least what is a winning way of playing, even if it's not the best football.
Let's pivot to Perth, Teo. How did you rate their season as a whole?
Gee, it's really tough because if Teresa Morrissey had been there from game one, I think if you stack up the results when she was in goal versus not there, it's pretty stark in terms of the goals they conceded. They obviously ended up with one of the worst goal differences in the league because they won narrow and lost big away from home. I don't feel as though Perth have really changed their course. I thought they'd be better this year. They retained 17 of the previous season's squad, added some foreign players, had seemingly invested in the group, and they got close. They probably pushed a little bit further into the season than they have in previous seasons before dropping off right at the end. But, I mean, they'll look back on the 0-0 against Sydney at home and the 0-0 against Mariners at home as the two big ones where they could have actually had themselves safe in the six and not needing to go to Brisbane to get a result or not needing a result against Victory on the final day.
Yeah, I've got to agree with you there, Teo. I would have hoped for them to have a better season. I really think they underachieved with what's a pretty good squad, to be fair. And then, it raises questions. What, does Stephen Peters continue on? Is there going to be a big clean out for this squad? So, and in terms of recruitment, there's challenges there. So a lot of questions are coming to me when I think about Perth.
Well, they'll have a little while now in the off-season to think about that and those decisions, T, as well. We'll move to Gosford now, where the Mariners' championship defence ended in a 0-0 draw with Sydney FC. Back-to-back years now, T, where the defending champs haven't made the finals. What are we putting this down to?
Yeah, it's a bit of a travesty, you know. Not one New South Wales team is in the six at all. So this is, it's, I don't know, it's unforgivable, really. I don't know how it's happening, but it was a good last round game for Sydney. There was a lot of fight out there, a lot of effort, but you know, we need to be seeing Sydney back in finals, and for the Mariners fighting for their finals place, I just didn't see enough fight for them. So I think, you know, they've really ended up where they've deserved.
I mean, I was there watching this in the flesh, and I thought there was just a lack of urgency in the game. Central Coast drew 3 of their last 4 games 0-0, Teresa.
Yeah,
now, you can say, yes, Annalise Rasmussen was sold. Yes, young Matilda's players like Trimis and Fuller and Prakash were away.
Yeah.
But I think they had advanced knowledge of these things, could have prepared for them. I just think the Mariners were almost a little bit naive, thinking that keep it tight, don't concede, go and pinch a goal. And they just left their run a little bit too late. And I mean, the Perth game, they were definitely the better team, didn't score, could have won that away from home instead of a 0-0 draw. The 0-0 against Canberra, 50-50 in terms of chances. They were outplayed by Sydney here. And in the last 10 minutes, they finally threw Liz Gray forward. I mean, they only had the answer from weeks ago on Dubzone, but thanks for watching. But they went for it late. They threw her forward. She did pretty well. I mean, if Eliza Familton scores and the Mariners, you know, get in, that ball goes the other side of the post, they would be a very dangerous team in finals because they have the answers to beat Wellington. They are competitive against victory. You know, they've been good against Canberra as well. There are plenty of teams in the top 6 that they have a great record against, but I mean, they miss out here because they lost away to Sydney and drew with them at home. They pick up 1 point from a possible 6 against the second last team. Never mind the fact they did lose at home to Wanderers as well. So there are some big sliding doors moments through the season for them.
Thinking back on those moments, they sort of shot themselves in the foot a little bit, and it's a shame not to see the reigning champs in finals, because that would, certainly spice things up in terms of what happened last year as well. But it was just, I think, for the Mariners, a case of a little too late.
Didn't stop you wearing your yellow today, though, did it? Not your blue,
Not
though.
intentional.
Let's talk about
neutral.
the blue.
I'm neutral today.
Because for Sydney, Teresa, a season to forget, obviously, but a remarkable find in Willa Pearson. Outstanding, silky bit of skill on the weekend down this right-hand side, starting to feel comfortable at this level and confident at this level, and we're seeing things like that.
Oh, look, if you remember earlier in the season, all the critics, you know, putting a low ceiling over Willa Pearson's head, she has absolutely smashed through that ceiling and shown why she was chosen in the first place by Ante Juric, because I think she'll be up for Sydney FC Player of the Year this year for sure. But it's and she's shown versatility at such a young age. So
Ante just signed for another 2 years.
Yeah.
Well, it's great to see, and she'll be away with the under-17s national team soon, so we'll get to see her tested in a different environment of international football with a number of her peers, like Claire Corbett, in that Sydney FC team, who has played more and more minutes as the season's gone on. I want to ask about what comes next, though, T, because myself and Alicia Ferguson sat at this desk, and the week that Ante Juric left and James Slaveski came in as interim, my great concern for Sydney is it doesn't matter what players you bring in and what talent. If they do not change the off-field hierarchy and setup, they are going to continue to get these sort of results, and they need a dedicated women's director of football. They need to make a decision on the coach, but they need it to align with what the club wants. Otherwise, you're going to have more misfiring recruits. I mean, Jodie Ukekel, an import striker, finishes the season without scoring a goal. Laurianne Moyes came and went, has scored 5 goals for a new club, by the way, since leaving. But I just think that trading off the name and the badge has got them this far. Now they actually need to start doing things a little bit differently. Am I misguided in my opinion?
No, you're spot on. There's a few major structural changes that have to take place, and the coaching gig for Sydney should be a gig that every coach wants to go for. But at the moment, you know, there's other roles associated with it. I wouldn't say it's a full-time role even. So, some major changes need to take place so that Sydney, you can no longer now rely on the past.
And at a higher level than Sydney FC's own administration, and this affects the entire league, but it's perhaps going to be acutely felt at Sydney. Uncapped Australian players in their early to mid-20s are going to be looking for overseas opportunities unless they are given incentives to stay in Australia. My mail, and I'm not speaking out of school here because I got it from multiple sources at the weekend, is that Tori Chimeth and Hannah Lowry have now played their last games in the Ninja A League for the foreseeable future and will be pursuing overseas moves. We are about to see, a bit like last season, an exodus of uncapped Australians in the prime years of their career who really should be staying in the Ninja A League, and they're about to go. And all I can say is, and I don't mean to shout the sky is falling, don't underestimate how deep it's going to cut and how many more teenagers you are going to have to replenish your stocks with in order to fill a team next season.
Well, look, I know James Slaveski, he's been in that developmental program. He knows a lot of programs around. He's young. He's got the energy to get out and not just seek foreigners to come and patch those gaping holes. But I think there's a lot of talent in the NPL that is untapped and needs to be sought out. So I'm sure he'll be out there doing that. And yeah, I not to say there's no room for foreigners. I think the key is choosing the right ones. And I think he needs to be, if he's given the role to continue, he needs to be given the resources to ensure that he's choosing the right foreigners, because I'm sure there are endless emails that come through with interest for Sydney FC that players want to come and play for Sydney.
Well, maybe they could take a leaf out of Wellington's book this season and have a look at the remarkable turnaround of their season, because Wellington Phoenix's history-making season got even better after their win over the Reds, saw them secure a top 2 spot. We saw vision last week of Bev Priestman giving her side an absolute spray after the loss to the Wanderers. And guys, it seems to have worked.
They were amazing in this match. They made Adelaide look like a team of schoolgirls, to be quite honest. We'll get to Adelaide soon because, I was not happy with what I saw from them. But Wellington, that spray, I loved seeing Bev Priestman show that passion to her team. It clearly registered, and they went out and played like a team ready to win a championship.
Teo, they too had a dip in their season and seem to be bringing it home at the end, right in time for finals.
Yeah, and I think that it's a real credit to the playing group. They had the onus put back on them during the week. I know that CJ Bott travelled with Wellington to that away game in Adelaide, still pregnant, can't play obviously, but providing a bit of additional leadership, and maybe that is part of delegating the responsibility onto the players to take ownership of their situation more. You're right, T, they were great, and Brooke Nunn, who we will talk about later in the show, had another outstanding performance scoring the goal. And it's all credit to Wellington that they've secured a top 2 spot. I just want to throw one little thing out there, though. They are probably going to choose to play the second leg at home because if it goes to extra time and penalties, you have your home fans. But it means that you go across the Tasman for the away leg and then come back. So you've travelled twice before kicking off the second leg, whereas the other team has only travelled once. So instead of having a genuine away game, you've kind of given that up all on the contingency of maybe we go to extra time, maybe penalties. I just wonder, should the Wellington Phoenix actually ask to play their first leg of the semi-final at home and have a genuine home ground advantage, and then the other team, the visiting team, has to travel across the Tasman twice to Wellington's once before the second leg?
I had this discussion with someone and I genuinely think that they might do that, just that. Not only that, and then if they were to win that, staying...
If it's Canberra or Brisbane, that's not a direct flight either. You've got to go to Auckland, or you've got to go to Sydney and then travel to Canberra and then or Auckland to Brisbane.
Well, I really think that they will go for that first leg at home. That's the conversation I had. That's what we sort of gathered, but it's an interesting one, yeah.
Well, they will feature in finals, that is for sure. There was a lot to play for Adelaide. I know you both want to speak about this a lot. There was a bit of a lack of urgency, though, Teo, in this side.
I'm wondering what's going on with Adelaide. Of all the teams that need this longer break before the first finals, they need it the most because they can go and hit reset, play some friendlies, maybe just, even clear out of the club for a few days to clear their heads. Because last season, they got knocked out over 2 legs by Victory with a lot of headers and a lot of set-piece goals, and it was almost a little bit heartbreaking after the great seasons that Ella Tonkin and Matilda McNamara have had as centre-back to see them conceding such soft-headed goals.
And the goals were a repeat of the same mistake. Players left unmarked in those dangerous areas. Inexcusable. The urgency lacked throughout the game. There was a free kick in a scoring area and players were just walking. And this is 10 minutes down, 10 minutes left, and you're down. Like, you are sprinting to everything. There was a lack of urgency. Theo Tsiunas on the side did not look impressed at all. I'm sure they would have gotten a bit of a spray after that. And yeah, I think the break will do them wonders in terms of resetting and getting that desire back for finals.
So the one positive is they did win away to Brisbane last time. Brisbane got them at Coopers earlier in the season, the game where Tamiki Yalif got injured. But then Adelaide went away to Brisbane. Erin Healy set up a goal early for Emily Hodgson, and Adelaide essentially managed that lead to the finish line. I mean, are they, of the 6 teams in the finals, the least likely to hoist the trophy at the end of the season based on their current form? Based on what I saw at home, a doubleheader, a game of such... I guess, importance, yes, it's sad to say yes. Look, Erin Healy was missing, huge, but you cannot give up because one player, arguably your best player, is not playing. It was just not enough fight. So I do worry for Adelaide come finals, but I hope I'm wrong.
Maybe it comes down to leadership from those missing players too, T, but more to dig into there, I'm sure. Let's go to the top of the table, though, because it was the last match of the regular season. City's victory lap in Maitland. That's how it ended up. The Premier's plate already secured. They did have to come back late to down the Jets, though. A little bit of a scare.
Speaks to the professionalism, though. Every time you speak to a City player about potential rotation or rest, they say no. Like, they are just so eager to get out and play because they know that any opportunity for someone to come and take their spot in the first team is something you need to avoid. Great goal by 18 Keane. She's had a strong finish to the season. And then just winning mentality. Danielle Turner pops up in the 97th minute tee to get them a 2-1 win, come from behind. And I think Melbourne City, given that they have contests on multiple fronts, Champions League, A-League finals now, they've closed out the season in a winning fashion, and they deserve credit for that.
Look, massive credit for that. A hard... place to travel, Newcastle, nothing to play for, no pressure. They were out there. It was actually a really entertaining game, given that it had no meaning behind it. But yeah, I thought, Newcastle wanted to end on a good note. But yeah, City, you could just feel it building. And there was a few fiery clashes on the field. You saw Danielle Turner with the shush to the crowd. It got a bit vocal at times. And yeah, look, they kept going for it. And for a team who has already secured the minor premiership to continue to go at it for the win.
But this is what makes them the team that they are, because they do continually still try and get a result even when it doesn't mean something. They're fighting right till the death for that. Exactly. They've got that winning mentality that is going to carry them and has shown throughout the season, setting the standard for the other clubs. And Taylor, like you mentioned, there's that competitiveness within the squad for positions, makes it a great training environment.
Not least Melissa Barbieri appearing in goal. So every time Bubs gets on the pitch, she continues to break the oldest player record. Now, Bubs is joining me for the Malawi game between Australia and the Matildas in commentary. So I've got to be nice to Bubs this week. But I thought, again, if you're in a situation where your goalkeeper gets injured or sent off in a grand final, just like 2 seasons ago when Melbourne City had to install Bubs on game day, she's still there, she's still ready. And she has a very handy third keeper in Ayana Ayagi there, pushing her. But, Ayagi can't make the bench because Bubs is still, getting it done.
But did you see Bubs' performance? She came on, did the job, made incredible saves. I think it's something to be celebrated that she's just showing age is just a number. And
46
she's got
years
so
old.
much still to offer for that group. And it was a comfortable game in the end, really. There was no instances where you went, oh dear. No, she was so strong in goals.
Well, 46 years old and still breaking records. Amazing. And this one, her own record for oldest player in the Ninja A-League. For the Jets, it was an up and down season as it comes to a close. Let's hear now from their striker, Malene Ayres.
Yeah, I think that's pretty much sums up our season. We've fought so hard in games and we've been so close to being where we want to be. And yeah, I think it was pretty reflective of our season. But I'm proud of us for putting up such a fight, but yeah, I guess that's where we need to live for next season. I'm not really sure what happened in the off season, but I've come back and I love football more than ever, and I'm just really passionate about building this team up, and I guess being the best person and footballer I can be.
Melina Ayres there scoring the opener in this one, Teo, making it 8 goals for the season, and by the sound of that, she'd like to stay in Newcastle.
And it's conflicting because obviously Melina Ayres came back from a sabbatical, needed time away from the game. Great to see her return goal-scoring form. But by the same token, are Newcastle ever going to build a team around Melina Ayres to allow her to win the Golden Boot? And are we watching a player who's going to score 100 A-League women's goals and never win a Matilda's cap? Is Melina Ayres
scoring goals?
Is Melina Ayres going to smash the record of most goals scored by an Australian that never played for the Matildas?
To build a team around her when look, she's scoring goals. I think for Newcastle, it's about stability, keeping what they have. I thought they showed great glimpses this season of, really positive play, and if they can keep everyone, I think that's the key for them. That'll help them move forward. Because Melina Ayres, she's running the show out there.
But the bad news to you is only 2 of their squad have a contract for next season.
But that doesn't mean they're not going to be signed.
No, but I mean, I've inquired with the club. I kicked the tyres. I said, do you have any unannounced players that you're just keeping in reserve? And they said, we can't say anything at the moment, which says to me that everyone's on the market. Everyone is poachable.
They are, but that doesn't mean they won't be signed by Newcastle Jets. It just hasn't happened yet. Things happen slowly
My
sometimes.
broader point on Ayres is she could have a Michelle Heyman-esque post-30 break into the Matildas because her goal-scoring instincts will never go away. It's purely a question of, is your form and fitness good enough to get in? I just wonder...
I think so.
Is she ever going to be able to do it playing not just in the Ninja A-League, but doing it specifically at Newcastle?
But you don't have to be in the best team to show that you're good enough for the Matildas. If the scouts are out there watching properly, and that game was a good instance for Melina Ayres, she was amazing. If they're out there really watching, I think she's got it in her to easily could get to the Matildas camp based on the way she's playing. At Jets, yes, I think that can happen.
There you have it. Plenty to talk about. Looking forward to hearing your thoughts on that one. Let's have a look at the ladder now and some of the fixtures that are to come. Now, after 20 games on the ladder, it is Melbourne City with 40 points and a 6-point buffer there over second place Wellington Phoenix. Canberra United, Brisbane Roar, Adelaide United and Melbourne Victory are your top 6. And as T pointed to before, sitting alongside Perth Glory, the 4 New South Wales teams all finishing outside the top 6 in this season of the Ninja A-League. Still plenty to look forward to, of course, because the elimination finals kick off on Saturday, April 25. Yes, that is Anzac Day. We've got your afternoon absolutely sorted. Canberra United hosting Melbourne Victory at McKellar Park. That will be an absolute cracker, followed by the Brisbane Roar and Adelaide United from 5 p.m. at Spencer Park in Brisbane. That is what we have to look forward to as we welcome A-League's reporter Narlene Masto to the desk. Our young Ninja A-League talent are certainly lighting it up on the field at the Under-20s Asia Cup.
Oh, they absolutely are. A host of Ninja A-League stars on the score sheet in those 2 5-0 wins against Chinese Taipei and India. And Tay, you'll be calling the action tonight. It's the final group match against Japan. What can we expect from the Tillies in this going to be the toughest fixture yet?
I think what we can expect is for Australia to at least go for it and try to play football rather than simply sit deep, contain and attempt to counter against Japan. Historically, there's been a big gap. In 2019, it was 7-0. In 2024, at the most recent Under-20 Asian Cup, of which there are still a couple of players in this Australian team who were there, it was 5-1. So, Japan has had our measure in under-20 women's football for some time. T, you know what these tournaments are all about. The young Matildas have played in 2 38-degree days, and it's been extremely physically draining for them. What are you hoping to see from them against Japan?
Well, look, it's been a promising start against, you saw the national teams for Chinese Taipei, the senior national teams, I should say, in India. They're rapidly developing. So, bright start for the young Tillies. But, I think the Japan game is the true test to see where we stack up in terms of, the best teams at youth level in the world.
Also to mention, Japan yet to concede a goal as well. Now, we know the young Matildas already through to the quarterfinal, but how do you think they'll deal with potentially, if they are on the back foot early in the match, an unfamiliar sort of position for them in the tournament? How are they going to deal with Japan's side dominating passages of play?
It'll be fascinating because due to, injuries striking this team and unfortunate timing, they have been playing Emma Dundas and Ruby Sullivan as their centre-backs. So a player who, in Sullivan, who is not very experienced at A-League level, albeit having been in the Sydney team for the last 2 seasons, and Dundas, who's normally a midfielder. Tegan Bertolicios having an amazing tournament tee.
She's had a great season.
Alexia Apostolakis is the captain of the team. But that defensive solidity, when they concede possession, Australia, and get turned around by a Japan team on a short counter, that's where it's going to be red alert for the defenders.
That's the challenge there, and I know Japan would do their homework as well and target those areas, but I think at this level, it's good to be thrown in. You never know, these players might now become centre-backs based on that chance, circumstance where they've had to step in. I've seen that happen in the past before. So, yeah, massive test, and great to see it's going to be very challenging. I think that's how it should be at youth level. And also, everyone should be given a chance at that level in the squad. So I can't wait to see it.
And the context is, if Australia do get a draw, they top the group and avoid North Korea in the quarterfinals. The only way to get to the Under-20 Women's World Cup is by winning your quarterfinal. North Korea are steamrolling the teams in their group, and I suspect they will steamroll South Korea as well. They are the defending champions in this age group, and they are the number 1 team you don't want to play because they're impossible to prepare for, and they seem to have an imperious record in youth football. And we even saw their senior team at the Senior Women's Asian Cup starting to bear a bit of the fruits of actually retaining those champion juniors into their senior team. So avoiding North Korea would be nice. The only way to do it is to get a result off Japan.
A couple of tough matchups for our Aussie team to come, Nolan.
Yep, and you can, of course, stream that free on 10 tonight at 7 p.m. But now that the regular season is over, guys, it's that time where we talk about your team of the season so far. Teresa and Teo, you've picked your best starting 11. Kick us off, Teo.
Oh, well, this was hard to do. It really was. I've kicked off with Teresa Morrissey in goals. I think, she's been the standout goalkeeper all year. I've got 3 at the back. Sorry, defenders.
Yeah, 3-4-3.
I'm really sorry, but I've sort of gone really slim on the defender stocks there to pump up, the top end of the field, but Stott, Barry and Hayley Taylor-Young get the nod for me. I've loved watching Bethany Gordon this season. Ivani Prakash, one of my favourite youngsters as well. Pia Vlock, enough said there. And Sophia Sakalis, I think she's had a breakout season and has made herself a mainstay at that victory side. So Brooke Nunn, Rasmussen and Keane top my team.
And a couple of Central Coast Mariners in there as well, even though they didn't make the finals.
Yeah, well, before Rasmussen left, let's not forget she's gone to Europe, to Juventus of all, powerhouse clubs. So I think it was only fair to leave her in there. And as in terms of a young star, I'd love to see, Vani Prakash at a certain other team. But yeah, I'll leave it at that.
Sydney FC maybe wearing a blue shirt. I think that was loud and clear. Teo, your team, I noticed, also doesn't have Holly Mack. Neither of you went for Holly Mack.
Yeah, well, I tried to pick a team as different as possible to Teresa's.
Can you argue with Aideen Keane, though? She's had an outstanding season and stepped up when Holly Mack's not around. So that's why she got the nod for me over Holly Mack.
Well, I actually agree with you on 18, Keane, but interesting you put Sakalis in because if we go to my team, left-sided attacking players, T, I think are the rarest commodity in the league, especially of the Australians. So I agree with you on Keane, agree with you on Nunn. I put Daisy Brown in because she's going at a goal every 2 games and has been one of the reasons Raw have made finals, phenomenal target player. How could you leave out Erin Healy? She's been a picture of consistency when she has played. Grace Jale, best ball-winning midfielder, best header of the ball in the league. Marissa Vandermeer in a very good Wellington defence. I was tempted with Ellie Walker. I just think Vandermeer has made fewer mistakes than Mackenzie Barry next to her. That unit deserves credit. Vandermeer's the one I squeeze in. Ella Buchanan and Amy Medwin are 2 of the most underrated players in the league. I reckon Buchanan will have interest from overseas clubs, never mind from the Melbourne Cities of the world. And Medwin should be getting overseas. She's a winner. Finals every season at Western United, finals at the Brisbane Roar now. I actually think that, again, has scored in the last couple of games for Brisbane to help their run into finals. Her and Angie Beard, you might recall, the year that Sydney won the grand final 4-0, were both injured in the run home for Western United, and it would have been a very different story. So I think that Beard and Medwin could easily take Brisbane through finals. And we agree on Morrissey, although Heather Hinds needs to also be given her flowers for being the best player on Sydney FC this season by a very long way.
Yeah, it was out of her and Morrissey, and I think Morrissey just overall consistency got the nod for me. But yeah, fair shout call. Teo, I like your team. but I think we just had different perspectives.
Well, you did have a few together.
I deliberately didn't pick Trimis because I thought you would. I mean,
how many Mariners
But
would
Brooke
I
Nunn,
pick?
number one for assists and number one for chances created and scoring goals herself. Brooke Nunn is like a sneaky Dolan medal contender.
Yeah, for
but
sure.
I would have thought you would pick Trimis for
yeah,
sure.
I love Peter Trimis and the way she plays as well, but I had Prakash there.
She can't pick the whole Central Coast Mariners team.
One had to go, and unfortunately, I'm sorry, Peter Trimis, it had to be you, but I really liked the way
you did have, Brooke Nunn, Aiden Keane, Bethany Gordon, and Rebecca Stott the same. So at least a little bit. Of
I reckon when you get to the Julie Dolan,
I think Holly Mack is a big name missing from this team.
The Julie Dolan medal leaderboard and the Claire Polkinghorne medal leaderboard, you will probably find those players near or at the top. Yeah, are we a bit rough? Holly McNamara had, in terms of goals and assists combined, 5 more than anyone in the league.
We'll just wait for the awards season, shall we?
Are we marking her too hard to have left her out here?
Definitely we are, but I just think, the way I saw it was, for me, in a team like City, 18 Keane, she's been around to other clubs, she's found her home, and I just felt she should be rewarded for that. In my team of the season. In everyone else's, they can pick Holly Mack.
18 Keane, a little bit like Sian Fryer, is maybe sneakily closer to the Matildas than we think. Third best Australian in the league for dribbles. One of the best players in the league for drawing fouls.
She reminds me of Hayley Rasso.
One of the best players in the league for winning her duels and more touches in the opponent's penalty area than any other player in the league of Australians. So I think that in terms of kind of even flying under the radar a little bit, when you start sorting the stat categories that are important to being a pressing forward, trapping the opposition in their defensive half, 18 Keane just keeps appearing at the top of the list.
And she's so durable. She's in every conflict on the field, gets up, keeps going. I just love that mentality.
I was just going to say, no Izzy Gomez? No late push for her in the starting lineup?
Look, I mean, if you pick a team of midfielders, I'd have Izzy Gomez and Sophie Hoban in there, don't get me wrong, but Bethany Gordon has just tipped the others out. And Grace Jarway, I mean, the reason I think the Mariners have such a great record against Wellington is because when Grace Jarway is not there, Izzy Gomez just goes to town, whereas Jarway has been the physical presence, the aerial presence, and also, I think, just a very relaxed character that provides a bit of quiet leadership to that Wellington group.
And I think Bev Priestman has brought out the best in her this season, that is for sure.
Absolutely.
We could debate this for days, I have no doubt, but we have run out of time here on the Dub Zone this week. A big thank you to Pellizzeri, Teresa Polias and Narlene Masto for your thoughts today. We'll be back on your screens in 2 weeks' time. Don't forget those elimination finals on April 25th at Canberra against Victory at 2 p.m. and Brisbane Roar and Adelaide United at 5 p.m. Until then, see you soon.